All new today. Another Dr. Phil First.
It's the first time in 17 seasons that a guest could literally not make it to the studio.
She never leaves her house.
My agoraphobia, it's crippling my life.
What happens when you think about leaving your safe space?
I'm terrified that I'm gonna die. The fear I have today, I blame my mother.
She says you held a knife to her throat.
I do not recall that. I was blacking out a whole lot.
Then how do you know what you did?
What happened last time I needed help? I got heart surgery by myself.
Honey, I was sitting there talking to you.
No, you weren't. You were not there.
I need to know the truth. Today's going to be a changing day in your life. You've never had anybody working harder to bring you to the threshold of change than right now. Today is a first for me. It's the first time in 17 seasons that a guest could literally not make it to the studio. In fact, Kirsty is sitting in her bedroom right now because she says it is impossible for her to travel. But the situation is actually way worse than it may seem. In the past 6 months, Kirsty says she has not ventured outside her home further than this distance to her mailbox. Kirsty says she is confined to her bedroom for 22 hours a day. She calls it her prison and believes she will die if she leaves for longer than just a few minutes. In fact, during the last 14 months, Kirsty says she has only left her home once, and that was in an ambulance.
Other than giving birth to my 5-month-old in the hospital, I haven't left the house in over a year. I can't leave the house. It immediately makes me feel like I'm gonna die. If I walk through the door right now, it would get harder to breathe than it already is. As soon as I get outside, I start getting dizzy, my heart races, I get palpitations, and sometimes I even pass out. Most of my world is in this 12-foot by 14-foot room. I spend about 22 hours a day in the bedroom.
When I'm in here, I feel extremely safe.
When I try to leave the bedroom, it's like I get all the way up to the door, and it's like this huge brick wall just shoots up in front of me, and I really honestly don't want to go past it. Even though I'm inside the house all day, every day, I have lots of anxiety throughout the day. It never stops. Whenever I see the sun, it adds to the anxiety. I always feel like I can't breathe. It gets really dizzy, and I'm gonna pass out. It's really uncomfortable. I am very much more relaxed at nighttime. I have 3 young children, and having severe anxiety has been making it very difficult to be a mom. My last 2 pregnancies did not go well. I did not get the chance to get any prenatal care, see any doctors. I just went when I had to deliver. On both of my children, I had to take an ambulance to the hospital for the birth because I couldn't take a car. I was just too scared. My agoraphobia, it's crippling my life. I feel like I am a prisoner in my own home.
But sadly, that's not all. Kirsty says she needs someone to watch her 24/7 so she doesn't die. And despite taking extreme precautions, the moment her fiancé left to travel here to Los Angeles, Kirsty's anxiety became overwhelming.
I can never, ever be left home alone. I haven't been left home alone in about 7 years. For me to be safe, I have to have specific people actually sit with me, like my fiancé, Thomas.
I'm in the living room. Thomas is sleeping. I feel like I can't breathe. Everything kind of feels uneasy.
It's very unsettling to have anybody sleeping in the house when I'm awake because I'm afraid I'm gonna die while they're sleeping and I won't have any kind of help.
My heart is where something bad happens. You're not gonna be here. I'm gonna protect you. What if I end up going to the hospital?
Don't panic.
No, like you don't have to go. If it was nighttime, I'd be okay, maybe.
Maybe
But like the
nighttime
sun's
is
still out. This is worse than you're going to work.
I'm hoping I can get in this car and get away, and she'll be okay. I'm not gonna lie to you, sitting here is not making it any better. I kind of have to go, you know.
Right now, I am really sad. I'm having anxiety. I'm very uncomfortable. I can understand, like, if he went to his friends, but he stays away.
Everything about my life is dictated about fear of being left home alone. I don't think anybody should live this way.
Well, Thomas didn't get very far because after he drove away, we got a frantic call from our field producer saying, Kirsty, well, he just said she wasn't doing well. We turned the car around, and Thomas will be joining us later in the show via satellite. But first, joining us from her bedroom, the room that she calls her safe place and her prison, is Kirsty. So, Kirsty, I don't want to talk about what happens when you leave your safe space. I want to talk about what happens when you think about leaving your safe space. What goes on in your body? Tell me what happens.
My chest gets kind of tight, and it's hard to breathe.
Mm-hmm.
And I get really jittery. If I have to, like, go to the kitchen, I kind of, like, run there, run back kind of thing. I can go to the bathroom, all right, that's fine. But my heart starts to race a lot. And it gets like, I almost feel like I'm gonna die when I know that's not true if I leave. It's just not realistic.
And what is the fear that you're representing to yourself? What's gonna happen out there that's not gonna happen in the safe room?
I feel like my defibrillator is gonna go off and it'll shock me. I'm gonna have a heart attack, I'll pass out. It's just an initial thought of anything that's gonna bad happen to me or I'm gonna die, but somebody won't find me. I'm terrified that I'm gonna die.
You've thought these thoughts so much that they've become automatic. They're automatic thoughts. They're you know, we talk at 125 words a minute. We think at 12 to 1,400 words a minute. So we can think so fast that it becomes automatic. And some of these thoughts are automatic for you, and they've become so routine and so practiced that they're even faster than 1,400 words a minute. And we have to unpack those to know what you're saying to yourself about being outside your safe place. What are the things you say to yourself that make it so threatening to you? What could happen out there?
My biggest thing is my defibrillator. I'm terrified that I'll be shocked in public. I've passed out a couple times in the home, and I'm also afraid that I'll pass out outside of the house. Mm-hmm. Also, the really big thing about being outside of my home, there's no control of, like, the traffic and the movement of everybody. Mm-hmm. So it's like ants. They don't have one direction. I can't control everything that goes around me. So it's very constant and hectic for me.
You said that you haven't eaten with a knife and a fork in like 10 years, and you're very ritualistic about your eating and have to control what you eat. I actually made a list. You've been very forthcoming with us. Thank you for that, by the way. I made a list of the fears that you have of what you would lose control over. And you said you have a fear of losing control over dying, leaving your safe room, leaving the house, sunlight, crowded places, traffic, just the time frame from 12 to 4 p.m., being left alone, stairs, elevators, choking on food, non-powder or mashed foods, sodium, ranch dressing, heart attack, taking a bath, showering, normal routine being interrupted. If I told you that you have within you the ability to change your attitude about these things and that your behaviors would follow, would you believe that?
In my current situation, no.
Would you want to believe it?
Yes.
Do you believe that what you say to yourself about the world is what you react to rather than the world itself?
No, I don't believe it's real. I feel like a lot of it's just my fight or flight.
We can recognize it's not the event that's scaring you, it's what you're saying to yourself about the event that's scaring you.
Yes.
Okay. All right. That's a beginning. All right. Next, Christina says she is clueless as to why her daughter is the way she is. Now, Kirsty, on the other hand, says her mother knows exactly why she's the way she is and that it all started when she was 6 years old. Is that true, or is she just blaming her mother so she has someone to take accountability other than herself? Well, we're going to meet her mother after the break because she is here. We'll be right back.
She thinks I've left her alone, but I have not ever left her alone.
My mom instilled fear into me. She would tell me that people would kill me, rob me. She was not a decent mom at all.
Monday,
I drink a lot. I don't believe I have a problem.
they claim their mom
How long did it take you to meet my daughter? 3 weeks.
You're 2 blocks apart and you go weeks without seeing each other?
is the worst.
It would be nice to hear, hey, Mom, how you doing? That's a lie. That's a lie. Somebody go get my phone right now.
Grandmother of the year.
This is me texting her over and over and over again. 12 days, no response. My notifications were turned off.
That's Monday. Then on Tuesday,
My girlfriend is stuck in Germany.
You've never met her.
his family says she's not real.
She has texted him,
But is she?
why don't you say, I'm here, what's up?
That's Tuesday.
These days, Kirsty is afraid to go to the hospital now because her anxiety is heightened and she just doesn't want to leave the house at all. One time, we were on our way home from the hospital and she was starting to get anxious, so we pulled over to try to calm her down. She immediately started screaming as loud as she could until she passed out. She would wake up, scream, and pass back out. It was one of the worst screams I ever heard. It seemed like she was being murdered.
Well, Kirsty's mother, Christina, admits that she wasn't a perfect parent. Yet she is adamant that despite leaving her daughter every night to go drinking, she never let her alcoholism impact her daughter's life.
Kirsty has had a long history of self-diagnosis. Every time I turn around, it was one illness or another she was coming up with.
My mom would call me a hypochondriac. My mother would tell me to suck it up half the time.
When she was 10 years old, we went to the doctor, and she said, I have prostate cancer. It's just gotten worse and worse as time's gone on. When she was living with me as an adult, I either had to take her to work or hire a sitter. I mean, how embarrassing that was. She thinks I've left her alone, but I have not ever left her alone or put her in harm's way.
She was not a decent mom at all. My mom was an alcoholic when I was growing up.
I did drink a lot, and I was not able to do 100% mothering.
She just was not there. My mom would go out to go to the bar. Sometimes she wouldn't come home till 2 a.m. Sometimes she wouldn't come home till the next day. I would try to call her. She would ignore my phone calls. I'd have to call multiple bars. Sometimes she would tell the bar, don't tell her I'm here. I was like 6 years old. And that was quite terrifying to be home alone. My whole childhood, my mom instilled fear into me. She would tell me not to leave the house. She would tell me that people would kill me, rob me. If I left, I would be kidnapped.
My daughter's never done drugs. She's never done alcohol, and she's not out on the streets, so I can at least say I did something good. When I see my daughter, I see a lost soul. I'm afraid if my daughter continues this path, she's going to lose her fiancé and end up in a mental institution.
Okay, I'm glad you're here.
Thank you.
What is your reaction to your daughter saying that this all started in childhood because your role as a mother was dramatically insufficient?
I agree with that. I agree 100% with that. I worked probably 3 jobs, sometimes 2 jobs. But when I wasn't working, I was out drinking. I was drinking a lot every night, probably 365 days a year, for at least 3 or 4 years straight. As far as leaving her alone, I've left her with my uncle. He was my roommate at one time. I've left her with a friend of mine. I always made sure someone was there in the house with her.
She has said that she would sometimes call a bar that you frequented looking for you.
Yes.
Is that true?
Yes.
And listen, this is not a blame game for me because that's over.
Yeah.
I can't change that. I'm looking for solutions right now. And she is going to be free from this if it's the last thing I do. And you may have made some bad decisions then. You can be part of the solution now. A definition of agoraphobia is an extreme or irrational fear of panic or anxiety when entering open or crowded places, of leaving one's own home, or of being in places from which escape is difficult. Now, that is a truncated definition, but then let's look behind agoraphobia a little bit about where this comes from. Well, negative events in childhood and other stressful events, such as being attacked or mugged, are associated with the onset of agoraphobia. Individuals describe the family climate and child-rearing behavior as being characterized by reduced warmth and increased overprotection. Heritability of agoraphobia is 61%, most specific association with a genetic factor that represents proneness to phobias. So what we're saying here is that if a child grows up in a situation where there's a lack of warmth, emotional unavailability of a parent, then that tends to set the child up to experience exactly what your daughter's experiencing.
And I mistakenly told her at 19 I was agoraphobic.
And were you?
I was. I couldn't go out in public. I couldn't be in crowds.
So when you say you don't know where it comes from, am I filling in some of those blanks?
Now I'm understanding it, yes.
Okay, and Kirsty, what do you think about what I'm saying here?
I'm sorry, I got distracted when she said that she told me at 19 that she was a girl. She never said that. I had never heard of the word until a therapist had told me it.
That's not true, Kirsty.
All right, we have to take a break. Kirsty claims her mother wasn't just neglectful. She says she was also at times abusive and that those memories still haunt her to this day. Now, Christina adamantly denies this, so we're going to talk about the difference between reality and perception when we come back.
When I was 7 years old, my mom put a butcher knife underneath my throat, threw a bottle of vodka at me, she'd bite me. The anxiety I have today, I blame on my mother.
In Dr. Phil May.
Do you believe that you are being scammed?
It would be nice to hear, hey, Mom, how you doing? That's a lie. That's a lie. Somebody go get my phone right now. This is me texting her over and over and over again. 12 days, no response. My notifications were turned off.
See this? My guest, Angie, says that is ironclad evidence that her husband, Joe, is having an affair.
I can see the buttocks of a woman sitting on top of Joe.
You actually think that he's bringing her not only into your home, but into your bed while you're in it. She says, I will kill you.
I never threatened to kill her. I'll go to jail for killing you.
You were pretty violent at the hotel.
I did not lay my hands on her.
She's controlling the security. She's possessing me right now. Like, are you God? Do you think you're God? You're not God.
My mom was an abusive person, physically, mentally, and emotionally. There's some pretty intense, horrible memories that stick with me. When I was about 6 years old, she'd call me a bitch or a whore. She'd tell me to get the out of her face. I would hide in the room. I'd lock the door. I'd wait until she passed out. When I was 7 years old, I tried to take an alcoholic drink away from her because she was so intoxicated. And she put a butcher knife underneath my throat because I wouldn't give her her drink back. That same night, she threw a bottle of vodka at me. On my 8th birthday, I got out of the pool and she ended up hitting me across my back with a bullwhip. She thought it was hilarious. When I was a teenager, we would get into physical altercations. Sometimes she'd bite me and leave bite marks on me. One time, I had such severe strep throat. I had about 103 fever. My mom was giving me Xanax because she thought I was making it up and just didn't really want to deal with me. Many times, she grabbed me by the back of my neck. She pinched the top of my shoulder where there's a tendon and dropped me to my knees. This was the life that was dealt to me. The fear and anxiety I have today, I blame on my mother. If it wasn't for all the abuse and fear, I would be a completely different person.
What do you say about that?
I disagree with that perception. I don't understand where she comes from. I've never physically harmed my child. I remember one time when she was about 8, I did hit her with a belt, and unfortunately it made a little mark on her little leg. And I felt so bad after that. I have never physically harmed my daughter or never threatened to physically harm my daughter. I may have been abrasive verbally, but that's just in my nature, the way I was raised.
Either she's gone beyond phobic and become delusional, or you need to be straight up honest about what's happened. Now, she says that there were times that you kind of used Xanax as a babysitter and put drugs in her food to sedate her so she was less troublesome to manage. True or false?
No, this child wouldn't take a pill at 8 years old for any reason whatsoever.
She said that's why you put it in her spaghetti.
No, I would put antibiotics in her applesauce because the doctor would give her antibiotics, and I'm like, you have to take these antibiotics. She refused. I'd put it in her applesauce.
Have you told her that she's just a hypochondriac and is doing this for attention?
I didn't say it was for attention, but I did say she was a hypochondriac.
And she was very specific about one time during a drunken rage that you held a knife to her throat when she wouldn't give you your alcohol.
If that ever happened, I had to have been completely blacked out because I do not recall that.
We do have a statement from a family friend that says her mother has been an alcoholic all of her life. She was a sloppy, lousy drunk who could care less about anyone or anything. She was very neglectful. Christina would leave Kirsty home to go out drinking. Kirsty was left alone often, all the time. Christina was an alcoholic, and Kirsty took care of her. She'd be falling down drunk, and Kirsty would clean up her mother's vomit. Kirsty was verbally and physically abused from what I saw. As early as age 4, Christina called Kirsty a stupid little bitch and a little bleep. I would see Christina slap Kirsty.
No.
So
I disagree with all that.
Well, that's why I'm giving you the opportunity to respond to it, because somebody with knowledge of the situation has made this statement, and it's very consistent with what Kirsty is saying.
I do agree with that I was a very sloppy drunk for a lot of years, probably about 6 or 7 years. And I do agree with that. My daughter did take care of me a lot of those times that I was hungover the next morning. But as far as physically slapping my child, no, I told you, I hit her with the belt that one time.
What happened the last time I needed help? I got heart surgery by myself.
Honey, I was sitting there talking to you.
No, you weren't. You were not there.
Kirsty claims that she was terrified of her mother, who is here with me now, so much so that she says she's relieved that Christina didn't have any other children. Okay, how much were you drinking
We were
at
just
the time?
playing.
When you were drinking?
I was drinking a lot, at least a full bottle of tequila a day.
That's a lot.
Yes, it is a lot.
So it's extremely likely, certainly possible, if not likely, that you don't know everything you did.
That's true, too. I agree.
Because if you're drinking that much, you could damn sure be blacking out.
Yeah, and I was a lot. I was blacking out a whole lot. But
then how do you know what you did?
That's what I'm saying. I don't, in my right mind, I would never harm my child. But in a drunken stupor, I don't know. I have no idea because I would be blacked out.
Kirsty, do you recall her holding a knife to your throat?
Yeah, she was making lemon drops specifically, and the tequila was next to her. And I said, can you stop drinking? And I went to go take it away. So she stopped cutting the lemon drops, and she put it underneath my chin, and she was like, you're gonna give me that back. My mom tended to instill a lot of fear in everything that she did with me. If you're not gonna help, and if you're gonna continue to hurt, I'm okay with saying goodbye.
I'd like to say, Dr. Phil, that she was the one that called me, crying hysterically. Mom, you're not going to believe this. I called Dr. Phil like you asked me to. So if it bothers her, I don't understand why she was so excited that she wanted me to come here. I'm trying to stand up for her and take and own what I need to own. But hundreds and hundreds of times I've tried to step forward and help her in situations, only to be let down and thrown to the back.
What happened the last time I needed help? I got heart surgery by myself.
No.
After that
I was in your room. I was in your room waiting for you. When you came out of surgery, I was in your room before you went to surgery. Honey, I was sitting there talking to you.
No, you weren't. You ended up having a panic attack the day before, and they admitted you into the hospital because of high blood pressure. You were not there.
Honey, I was sitting bedside. I don't know what. I was not drinking, so I was totally sober when I'm telling you this. I was bedside when you went in to have surgery. I was against the surgery because I thought a 23-year-old girl with a healthy heart should not have a defibrillator.
No,
but when the doctors came back and said you needed it, I thought I was crazy after all these episodes.
You know, the timeline, according to Kirsty, is that at 5 years old, she was trapped in an elevator for an hour and developed a fear of elevators.
Yes, that's true.
And that Christina doesn't seek treatment for her. At 6 years old, she says she was left alone due to her mother's alcoholism and told not to leave the house or someone may kill or kidnap you.
No.
And that the verbal and physical abuse begins and continues until she's 19. She says at 7 years old, she fears choking while eating and begins spitting out her food and hiding it.
I forgot about that.
And
yes,
Christina
that's true.
doesn't seek treatment for her at that time. At 9 years old, Christina claims Kirsty begins to self-diagnose, and Christina doesn't seek treatment for her. There have been a lot of
And all the
opportunities
times I
along
went to
the
go
way.
see therapists by her side, that was nothing that she can remember. There were lots of therapists we went to, and all they kept trying to do was push pills at her. She would take them home and she would crush them. She'd try to take them, but then after a couple of days, she'd say, I can't take these pills.
Well,
then
Kirsty
she'd get another
says-
therapist.
Well, Kirsty says her prison is slowly becoming her child's prison, her children's prison. And
agree.
that's a problem. So
That's
we're
a
going to
big
talk about
problem.
it after the break.
Because of my anxiety, I can't be the mom that they need. It's really stressful because I can't take my children anywhere to go to the doctors, to the park, visit friends, nothing. The most I can do is play outside with them at night in the backyard. Maybe for 10 minutes. Me and my children and my fiance tend to stay in the bedroom. I have baby gates in the doorway just to keep my children inside so I don't have to keep running out there to get them. Both of my youngest girls sleep in the room with me. The girls eat in the bedroom as well. My four walls have become their four walls. That's realistically all they see. I think this is a huge reason why my middle child is very shy, and then my youngest daughter, she does not like people. It's scary because all they deal with is me and their father. What's even worse is I have a 4-year-old who I haven't seen in about 2 years. She has health issues. I can't travel about 45 minutes away from my home to go see her. The last time I saw my oldest daughter was on her 2nd birthday. My daughter had no clue who I was. She thought the nurse was her mom. It gets really depressing. My children are most definitely caught in the middle because of my anxiety. I don't want them to end up like me.
Well, joining us now via satellite is Thomas. So this is her fiance who was coming, but it really created a lot of anxiety when he was making his plans to depart to come here. Thomas, the two of you have really not been on a proper date or certainly any kind of vacation. Well, how do you spend your time? What do you do for fun?
Board games.
Yeah, board games. Board games, movies, conversations. I mean, just because we can't go out doesn't mean we can't still make the best of us, you know?
We do talk a lot.
This is still my best friend, regardless of where we're at. I'll have to take her mini golfing to still have fun with her.
My son Jay has founded a company called Doctor on Demand. And Doctor on Demand is if I do say so myself, is a really groundbreaking company. It's been disruptive in the healthcare space. And Doctor on Demand begins by downloading a real simple app that you can get at iTunes or wherever you get apps. And the app is free. And on Doctor on Demand, you can see a doctor in an average of about 3.5 to 4 minutes, and you're face-to-face with a board-certified and licensed physician. We also have mental health services as well, where we have licensed PhD-level therapists that work with people. And here's the good news: you don't have to leave your safe place to do this. You can be right there sitting on that bed and open up your computer, and you can talk to a psychologist or a psychiatrist right there from your bed and work through the early stages of what needs to happen to start getting this under control. And I've gone so far as to already identify for you someone that you can talk to on Doctor on Demand. So joining us now via Doctor on Demand is Dr. Tanya Siff, who is a licensed clinical psychologist with over 10 years experience treating a multicultural population of adults, children, and families. Now, she is highly skilled in the assessment and treatment of the full continuum of psychopathology and addictions. And Dr. Siff, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I mean, I can actually hear that Kirsty has done a lot of work already. Maybe it hasn't materialized into actually getting out of the house, but I think she does know somewhere inside that there is a lot of hurt, anger, and rage in there.
Here's the commitment I want from you. I'm not going to go do all of this stuff that's going to make me insanely anxiety-ridden and panicked, but I'm not going to live like this anymore either, okay? Your commitment has to be, for me and for my children, this ends, and that begins right now, today. This is the first step, and I will not stop until that's achieved. That's what I need from you. Fair enough?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Special thanks to Dr. Tanya Siff and to Doctor on Demand. And if you at home want to have your own Doctor on Demand, you can go to Google Play Store or iTunes App Store and download the Doctor on Demand app. I also want to thank Dr. Frank Lawless and the PMP Center for offering resources for Kirsty. We'll be working along. There's going to be a lot of resources brought because this is going to change, and we're going to do a follow-up. I plan to have her on this stage in that chair very soon, and we'll do a follow-up. Coming up, she says she was once a victim, but now she's a survivor helping others. Her amazing story next. My next guest, Shakreese, has spent the past 10 years helping and housing women and children who have experienced domestic violence. Shakreese says being a domestic violence survivor herself, she was motivated to help others. Here's her story.
I had a baby at 22, and when I was in a relationship, that's when life took a turn. I didn't look at it as abuse, because back then we didn't know anything about domestic violence, so it was like one incident after another, after another, after another. After it became physical, I said I love myself enough to walk away. I didn't want to be abused anymore. I knew I had a mission. I was going to do something different to help women that wanted to leave a domestic violence or abusive situation. Good morning, Transition 123. May I help you? We take dilapidated homes, we refurbish them, and we place women in them. People don't donate like they used to. When women come with their children, they need formula, diapers, baby wipes, they need clothing, they need a bed. These homes are safe haven for women and their children. All the homes are clean. They have to do Saturday chores, so they get to learn what it entails to take care and keep a home. I live by, don't talk about it, be about it.
Well, Shakreese is joining me now. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you for the work that you do. I just can't even tell you. Shakreese, after being a victim of domestic violence, you were able to move on and have a happy marriage.
Yeah.
You were one of the lucky ones, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And
absolutely.
now you have 3 homes for women and children. How do you help them?
Dr. Phil, one of the obstacles that a woman have to endure when leaving an abusive situation is, where do I go? So transition came about as me being a survivor, providing women safe, clean, healthy environments and a place where they can just start a new healing process.
So what resources do you offer?
We help them with building their self-worth. The resources that we offer them is job readiness training. So now they can have the resources that they need to be effective when it comes to loving their children, you know, being in a quiet environment that they can have a fresh start from inside out.
You're programming them for life. You're giving them all the skills they need to have a chance to succeed. And the statistics are just really, really staggering. According to the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence, 1 in 3 women in the U.S. experience some form of physical violence by an intimate partner. And 1 in 15 children are exposed to that violence every single year.
Yes.
And your work in helping these families is just incredibly valuable. And there's someone who feels the same way that I do. And I want you to meet her. Please welcome the star of the comedy series The Good Place and the drama, Veronica Mars, the incredibly talented actress, Kristen Bell. Yeah. Kristen, thank you so much for being here.
I'm very excited to meet you, and I'm very impressed at what you've been doing with all of the people in your organization.
Kristen and her husband, Dax Shepard, who is a friend of mine, and my son, Jay, all got together to create Hello Bello, which is a company that creates really top quality products for babies and children that won't break the bank. So let's bring out some Hello Bello. Let's show some people what we got here. Let's introduce Shacrice to these great Hello Bello products. Yes. What are we talking about here?
Well, Hello Bello, our goal was to create premium for all. That was the idea of the start of the company. And I'm telling you, I know every single thing that is in these products, and I have tested it, and I have used it, and I would use it on my kids, and I do. We wanted healthy, safe baby products that you don't have to choose between your baby or your budget.
And Shacrice, while you're helping out the women and children escaping domestic violence, Hello Bello wants to help too, right?
Yes. I do just want to say a heartfelt thank you, because it's a very real problem that needs a very big support system, and I am so grateful to people like you, and all of us at Hello Bello are grateful for your work. So we would like to present you in Transition 1, 2, 3, 10,000 Hello Bello bucks to purchase all your needs for Hello Bello products for you and everyone that you serve.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for the work you do.
And let me add something to it. You may know that my wife, Robin, started her foundation, When Georgia Smiled, in honor of her mother, with a mission to help empower women, specifically those impacted by domestic violence and sexual assault, to live healthy, safe, and joy-filled lives. So, Robin, will you come up here?
Pleasure.
And to meet you.
Yes.
I'll just let you take my seat. You already know Kristen, of course.
Yes.
I'll turn the floor over to you.
I have to say, I think what Shacrice is doing with Transition 1, 2, 3 is so inspiring. We at When Georgia Smiled also make it our mission to support domestic violence shelters across the country, as they are a safe haven for women and children in crisis. So I would love to gift you, Shacrice, with $10,000 donation from When Georgia Smiled to help with the families in your organization.
Thank you so much.
God bless you.
I thank both of you, Kristen and Robin, for doing what you're doing here. The entire Hello Bello line is available at your nearest Walmart, or you can order them on Walmart.com and have 2-day free shipping on orders of $35 or more. You can also sign up for a convenient subscription on products on HelloBello.com. And audience, Hello Bello has a surprise for you, too. Everyone is getting a 1-month diaper bundle shipped to you. If you don't have a little money in diapers, no worries. The gift is transferable, so you can give it to somebody that's getting married or whatever. I'd like to thank all of my guests today. And Kristen, thank you so much for being here and joining us today, and surprising Shacrice. For more information about today's show, log on to drphil.com. You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Don't forget to subscribe to my podcast, Fill in the Blanks. It's free. We'll see you next time.